Hi, this is Dave Kahle. Welcome to our Practical Wisdom series of podcasts where we try to provide wisdom and resources and focus on helping sales professionals and business executives sell better, lead better, and live better.
Hi, this is Dave. I want to talk about learning as an organization, organizational learning. You know, I believe that the single most important predictor of an organization's long term business development and survival is that organization's ability to learn. In a world that's changing more rapidly today than at any time in human history, that consistent practice, the discipline of learning, is the only sustainable long-term strategy. Products will come and go, and they have increasingly short lifespans. Where before you might have an 18, 24-month run with a new product. Today is like 6 months before somebody comes up with something cheaper or better. So products come and go. Relationships, people talk about building relationships, they ebb and flow. Every other competitive advantage has an end date. It expires, it ends. But the ability to change and to grow, that will stimulate an organization to the constant renewal and refocus that our changing environment, our rapidly changing world demands. It's one of the key practices in Peter Senge's great book, The Fifth Discipline. In it, he identifies the benefits and practices of a learning organization. Now, that book was written quite a few years ago, and unfortunately, the recommendations of Senge's book are often outside of the reach of most small businesses. But it was a seminal book talking about the ability to learn. Now, let's create some definitions. First of all, learning. So by learning, I mean the ability to take in new information, formulate it into new ideas, and then put those ideas into existence. So there's three pieces to learning: new information, turning it into new ideas, and then putting those ideas into existence. Learning for adults on the job always manifests itself as changed behavior. The individual, the team, or the group, and the organization as a whole has to do something differently for learning to have taken place. I'll often be approached in a seminar or a speaking engagement, and somebody will come up afterwards and say, "Oh, Dave, thanks. I learned so much." And I don't say this because it would be rude, but I do think it. And that's this: you don't know that you've learned anything. You won't know that you've learned something until you change your behavior and act differently down the road. See, learning for adults on the job always involves behavior changing. For an individual, learning means consistently applied process of exposing yourself to new ideas and then changing your behavior as a result. It is not a one-time event, but rather a discipline that should be maintained and applied forever. For example, I work a lot with salespeople. So when a salesperson develops, say, a better question to ask when he's collecting information about a proposal, the issue is not the question. The issue is the ability to continually develop better questions. You see, it's not the end result, it's the process and the competency that led to the end result. For an organization which is made up of individuals, learning means the institutionalization of practices which result in innovative products, processes, and practices. It's not the new product which is the most important thing. It's the ability to continually create new products. See, the ability to continually change behavior, both organizationally as well as individually, is, I believe, the single biggest indicator of long-term success. I believe the only sustainable, effective response to a rapidly changing world is cultivating the ability to positively transform ourselves and our organizations. Let me repeat it because it's a key thought. the only sustainable, effective response to a rapidly changing world is cultivating the ability to positively transform ourselves and our organizations. Most individuals don't value learning, and most organizations have never given it serious thought. In my work with salespeople, for example, I've often noted that given a random selection of 20 salespeople, only one in that group of 20 will have spent $25 of his or her own money on their own improvement in the last 12 months. 1 out of 20. 5% who do invest in themselves, they're often superstars, and who have become that way by relentless learning. As a trainer and consultant, I've worked personally and contractually with over 500 different companies, and only a handful had a mention of learning in their value statements. Only a handful had a strategic initiative dedicated to it, or even a budget for investing in the learning process. Clearly, learning is not on the top of their minds. Now, here's 5 simple questions to determine the degree to which your organization values and promotes learning. Number 1, to what degree is learning mentioned in the company's foundational documents? Its mission statement, its vision statement, its self-description on the web page, and so on. All those fundamental documents which indicate what this company is all about. To what degree is learning mentioned in those documents? Here's 5 questions. Number 2, to what degree does the organization reward or penalize new ideas, attempts to do things better, risks taken, regardless of the outcome? Number 3, to what degree does everyone understand that continual personal and organizational learning is expected and rewarded within the organization? It's just what we do here. Number 4, how much money, and there's a classic way to express it, and that is as a percentage of payroll. So expressed as a percentage of payroll, how much money does this organization invest annually in learning experiences for its employees? And number 5, to what degree are individuals who refuse to learn tolerated within the organization? So there's 5 key questions. Here's some practical ideas. So the process of transforming an organization into one which learns and consistently and relentlessly learns, that process deserves more thought than this podcast will allow for. However, here's 3 low-budget, immediately implementable practices that will kickstart the process and bring a real significant return on investment. So 3 low-budget ideas. Number 1, promote the idea. Promote the idea. Announce over and over in every situation that the organization and every individual within it needs to learn. Let that message become a mantra. Whenever possible, give examples, tell stories, recognize specific learning behaviors. You should be promoting that message so consistently and so passionately that the employees begin to tire of hearing of it. There, he's on his soapbox again. Yeah, that's right. So number 1, promote the idea of continuous learning individually and organizationally. Promote the idea that it is expected within this organization. Number 2, invest in learning experiences. Invest in learning experience. Now, a learning experience is an event in which the folks are confronted with new information, new ideas, new insights, and encouraged to change their behavior as a result. So here's a couple of things you can do. For example, you can hold a monthly meeting dedicated to the purpose of discussing a book which all of you have read and isolating 2 or 3 ideas to implement that. You could give everybody the latest, business book, whatever. Say, next month we're going to talk about chapters 1 through 5, and our purpose is to identify 2 or 3 ideas we can implement. So, that's inexpensive, gets everybody learning. That's a learning event. Reading and talking about the ideas in the book, it's a learning event. And you can do the same thing with a video, YouTube video, Vimeo, any of those. You can do it with a podcast. I got bunches of videos, bunches of podcasts that you can use for that purpose. Another thing you do is to reimburse key employees for attending seminars. Require them to share some good ideas they got from the seminar with everybody else. See, that's a learning experience times two. One is they get a learning experience when they attend a seminar. Number two, they get a learning experience when they share good ideas with everybody else. And here's another. This is so simple. Just buy a book, hand it to a key employee, ask him to read it, and then share with you 10 good ideas he or she got from it, or share with the other employees. Simple, straightforward way to create learning experiences and begin to impose this idea of organizational learning. It's expected throughout the company. Number 3, here's the last one, model learning behavior. You can't just talk about it. You can't just encourage others to do it. You've got to do it yourself. You've got to be a model of what you want them to do. And so that means that you must read the books, you got to watch the videos, you got to listen to the podcasts, you got to read the blog posts, you got to go to the seminars, and then change your behavior in positive ways as a result. You have never stopped learning, and you need to show that to your employees. You must tell people what you're doing, you're learning, and why you're doing it. You being a model of what an active professional learning does will go a long way to encourage and support similar behavior from the troops. So, what do you do going forth? A couple very specific ideas to instill learning as a fundamental competency within your organizations, and the degree to which your organization can evidence and manifest learning individually and organizationally will be a great indicator of its future success. Okay, that's it. We're done. Bye-bye.